on blast.
And we are live. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps postgame show. My name is Sheldon Alexander, joined by my guy Mikey Bellamo. What's up, my dude?
Blessed on this Vince Carter Day.
Vince Carter Day.
Vince Carter Day, guys.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us again on the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps postgame show. And this episode of the Wrap It Up podcast is brought to you by Clean Cuts. Clean Cuts Barbershop, 2013 Danforth Avenue in Toronto. Clean Cuts, the multicultural barbers that will always keep you fresh for any and all occasion. So go see Skip and the crew. And as a wise man once said, tell them that I sent you. Check them out on Instagram at Clean Cuts Toronto or give them a call, 416-917-4833 to book your appointment now.
What up, Skip?
But you know what? The Raptors had an appointment. They had an appointment with an old friend.
Very old friend.
Vincent Lamar Carter.
And
Mikey.
his mom.
And his mom. His mom was there. She had great seats.
Yeah.
I think those were her normal,
Did she get her
regular
parking spot
seats.
too?
I don't know. We should do some investigating into that, though. But Vince Carter
Yeah.
was back. That was a headline going in because I think most people assumed that this was going to be a blowout win for the Raptors. Didn't turn out that way.
No.
So I planned that we were going to start off by talking about Vince Carter because whatever, Raptors blowout win.
Yeah.
That game seemed a lot more entertaining.
It's actually a game to talk about.
It was a good game to talk about,
Yeah.
right? Raptors win 104-101. And again, thank you to all the people joining us on the Wrap It Up podcast. Hello, people on Instagram. I see you. Send us your comments and questions at Sheldon Alexander. And as always, on Twitter at Shell Alexander, where you catch this podcast live after each and every Toronto Raptors game. But this one here, against the Atlanta Hawks, was the first time Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard played in the same game.
Since December 9th.
That's a full month.
That's what we haven't even gone Christmas shopping in that time yet.
Oh, definitely. My Christmas shopping wasn't done until
I'm the 24th kind of guy too.
right there with you.
That's how long ago it was.
Right?
6ix9ine's album was pretty much just dropping. Meek Mill.
No, Meek Mill would have been out for a couple days. We were still rocking.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
Austin Matthews was probably still hurt. Yeah. It's a long time, man.
Bottom line, though, it's been a long time
Yeah.
since the Raptors had their two stars. And we thought, as mentioned, this was going to be a blowout game. But instead, the Hawks came out playing really well. And the thing is, this isn't the same Hawks team that we saw from earlier in the year. They've been playing a lot better as of late.
They got John Collins back, which is a massive big guy in a sense.
Yeah, he had a very solid game for
big
them.
fan of him,
He
yeah.
put in work for them. He had a solid outing, 21 points, 14 rebounds,
Yeah.
which
He's
is
a beast.
just work. But here's the thing. The Raptors have this guy they traded for. His name's Kawhi Leonard.
Oh.
And I think that he's the MVP of this
Same.
game, and I know it's kind of obvious because he's a high scorer at 31 points. But to me, it's the defensive end, right? Like what Kawhi did down the stretch to me proves his valuableness. I was going to say I don't think that's a word,
Value
but
to
his
the
value. Thank you.
You
Right?
called it. First, I just want to get off and guys, I'm going to sound like a Debbie down here, but I was saying this. When they made that stop and they passed it to OG, driving to the lane, which I've been telling OG to drive to the lane. Listen, when you have the lead and you're driving to the lane, it's only up one. You dribble out the ball
Yes.
and you win the game. Yes, it was a perfect scenario. You got the dunk, but then Vince Carter got the miss. But had Vince Carter hit that shot, we'd be in overtime and probably still not doing the podcast right now because we'd be watching, biting our nails still.
And I'd be so cheesed if Vince Carter celebrating after he hit the shot.
I get it and at the spur of the moment, but OG Anunoby's, I mean, maybe that's
He's a young guy.
the young guy, right? You just dribble that out, and he had the lane. You could have just dribbled it out. It was about a second, 1.5 left. Anyways, you got the dunk. We got the win.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of dramatics because Carter took the last shot,
Yeah.
missed. But back to Kawhi, you were calling it the final minute was just what he's just all about.
Yeah.
And it's just so much more than the offense, which is always there. But just, man, his defense is just absolutely stunning.
Do you know what's crazy too? We talk a lot about people on the offensive end and how differently they do it on the offensive end. Maybe like they're driving to the basket, pull up jumper.
Yep.
They're driving to the basket, dunking,
What can they do?
shooting
Yeah.
threes, whatever. it's rare that we say that about a player on the defensive end, but we saw that from Kawhi down the stretch.
Yep.
One of those steals down the stretch, he like just ran
his
across
arm
a passing lane, stole a pass.
Yep.
The other one, he like picked a guy's dribble.
Yep.
Then the last play, obviously, he blocks Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to see that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't really talk about the difference makers or the different ways you score, but we don't really talk about the different ways you defend. And we saw it all.
One of the things I remember you saying, and it kind of got your juices flowing, was Danny Green said that me and Kawhi. What was the quote he said?
So it was from an interview that they did when the Sixers were in town, and ESPN did that whole
thrive
like,
on stopping the other play. The defense
so
is their number one. Right?
Danny Green was on with Stephen A. Smith.
Yes,
and they're talking about just the chemistry
That's
that him
right,
and
in the
Kawhi
big game
have.
that was here, yeah.
And Danny Green was like, the thing people don't realize is him and Kawhi from their San Antonio days and obviously to now, they pride themselves on shutting down the other team's best player.
Guys,
they want to go out night in, night out, and
that's
say,
what we got. Yeah. Exactly.
And
that's
isn't
what you
that
want. Yeah.
Isn't that the perfect example of what happened on that final play?
Exactly.
Whoever makes the call, we'll give the credit to Nick Nurse,
Yep.
but he switches, puts Kawhi to guard Trae Young
Yep.
on that last play. It looks like he might be beat, but he's not really beat.
Because, I mean, even I'm at fault. Sometimes you're thinking, you look at the clock, you're like, okay, maybe there's more than 24 seconds left. If they're going to score, we can get back and score. But with a defensive player like Kawhi, sometimes, like you're saying, they might not score, right? And that's exactly what happened. They got both the stops, both the steals, thanks to Kawhi.
Well, there was one play where we were sitting here, and I'm like, Kawhi's getting a steal.
And
it was
you
just
got it, yeah.
the way that the Raptors as a team,
Yeah.
when they bear down and they need to make a stop,
Dangerous.
they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not always Kawhi. Sometimes it's Siakam. Sometimes it's Kyle taking a charge. But as a team collectively, it's so crazy to see that because you realize that you can win games at the defensive end of the floor. Because the Raptors probably shouldn't have won this game. They didn't deserve to win this game.
They didn't.
They were so sloppy. It was so ugly. Turnovers all over the place.
They played down to their competition.
18 turnovers and 18 assists in this. No, 26 assists, 18 turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
I think Jack mentioned a stat.
Kawhi had the only positive
assist to turnover ratio,
yeah.
right? Like he was the only starter to have positive assist to turnover ratio, right? You look at it, Van Fleet had 4 turnovers, Lowry had 3 turnovers, Siakam 4 turnovers, Serge 3 turnovers. Like you're playing down to the competition, and it was probably a game the Raptors shouldn't have won.
Norm Powell minus 17.
Right? Like, not a good game at all for the majority of the Raptors, but the whole way through, and Kawhi, 31 points on 11 of 18 shooting. That's the other thing. He was very efficient in this game. He was just getting buckets whenever he wanted to.
He's on some sort of streak. I mean, obviously James Harden's taking the show right now with the streak he's on, but right there, Kawhi's, you know what I mean? He's not putting up the points, but he's doing it on both ends of the court.
And this is I know that James Harden is obviously, because what James Harden is doing right now is crazy, right? The numbers he's putting up are insane.
What is it, almost he's going for 15 or 40-point games?
Oh, 40-point games, like something stupid that. Yeah, but the thing is, right, and I know that it's not, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the MVP race for Kawhi to James Harden is a lot closer than we think. Or it should be a lot closer than we think. The reason that it's not is because people will bring up Kawhi sitting out on back-to-backs.
And how good the Raptors are without him as well.
But also, there's no actual stats to show defensively how much better Kawhi is than James Harden.
And also,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but true. But another thing so in other sports and say hockey, you count points collectively. Where in NBA, the statistics are averages.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, it might be it might be maybe closer than it is because he missed those games. But when he's playing, right?
The other thing too is Kawhi Leonard had 6 steals in this game.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, Kyle Lowry also had 4. So like with those two ball hockeying all over the place, like it's. Pardon the pun. I did not mean to do that, by the way. That's terrible. I hate when I do stuff like that by accident. But Kawhi Leonard's last 2 games that he's played, he has 11 steals.
It's insane. He's cooking.
What? He has 11 steals in his last 2 games. That's ridiculous.
And that's guarding Giannis. And that's guarding...
right? I mean, he guarded a little bit of everyone tonight.
Oladipo, the other game in Indiana. I mean...
Oh, no, he didn't play the Indiana game. He wasn't in that game. But, yeah, the Bucks game and then this game against the Hawks.
He was on Trae a bit, yeah.
That's just dumb. But there's a lot of comments here. I want to see what the people want to talk about as well, because we know we do want to talk about Vince.
We got to talk about Vince.
We do want to talk about this game. I want to see what the people are thinking here, how they're feeling after this game. So I'm going to go to Instagram first. Wow, there's a lot of comments already.
I read someone said that DeRozan wouldn't do what Kawhi's doing on the defensive end, and you're right.
Hell
He
no.
wouldn't do
I
that.
tweeted out at the end of the game, and I know I'm trolling, but I tweeted out at the end of the game, and y'all really love Vince Carter and
Yeah.
DeMar. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
you're just watching what Kawhi does. It's crazy. Let's see here. My boy Bev here says, Raptors should take a hard look at Jeremy Lin, second round pick. Jeremy Lin, so I've seen rumors about, people possibly the Raptors could pick
Linsanity?
up. Linsanity. I don't know if I'm on that wave. I don't.
I mean, you got Fred and DeLon.
Yeah.
I'm since we're getting into that, I'm a big fan. I told you this before, and also Beals, who's on the podcast,
Yeah.
said he was thinking of it. I love Kenneth Faried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nets have him, not giving him much minutes, and when he does get the minutes, he's averaging a double-double. Masai loved him in his days in Denver.
Yeah.
He's a good 4, athletic rebounder. You know what I mean? Somebody to come
Okay.
off the bench.
Yeah.
He's an expiring contract. He could be a buyout, or you won't have to pay much for him. He'd be a great fit for the Raptors.
Some more comments. I want to hear people's opinions on what Mikey's saying as well, obviously. Another comment here says, I'm at Mad. No, hold on. I'm not going to read out what Another Barbershop is when we're sponsored by. I was reading it and then I'm like, wait a second. I'm not shouting out Another Barbershop. But this guy says he's at a barbershop.
Yeah, I
You
know
should
which
be going to
barbershop
Clean
he's
Cuts.
at. Yeah.
But he says, we're going crazy right now. What a game. Yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining game. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not going to be like, oh man, they let the Hawks stick around. Like,
Yeah, actually,
that happens sometimes.
Yeah, no,
right?
yeah, you play down, but yeah, it actually turned out to be a great game.
My guy C Brown writes in and says, some of the ugliest ball I've seen in a minute. Very true.
It's the first thing I said when I came in here. I go, it's pretty sloppy.
It's so sloppy. An ugly, ugly game. Another comment here. Lowry and Leonard can play together.
They can.
Yep. It was great to see that.
And
right?
Nick Nurse liked it with his motorboat.
I wonder if that's like a symbol for like a defense or something, right? It's like a defensive
Roll off.
something. I don't know. But it was great to see those two guys on the court,
Yeah.
and this is what you need to start building towards in terms of
Yes.
those guys getting enough reps together, finding out little things. Like you mentioned, there was a play where DeLon and Kawhi had a 2-on-1, and DeLon kind of tossed
Tried
to
to
you.
toss him an alley-oop, and Kawhi's
like-
not that type of player.
But you know what I mean? Like you
But
need
yeah,
to play a
you need
lot
to know
more with
that,
each
yeah.
other to understand where
But
someone wants the ball.
From the podcast we did against the Bucks, one of the narratives we had there was Kawhi and Siakam playing well together, and they did it again today.
Yeah.
A couple nights. They're getting very comfortable.
Yeah, Kawhi,
Yeah, man.
I will say this. We talked about it a couple games ago where there's a 4-game run where Kawhi had, I think, 4 assists in 4 games. Or it was something like that.
Yeah.
I might be 1 assist off,
Yeah.
but it was essentially like 4 assists in like 4 or 5 games. And it was horrible, right? And we talked about it. There was a lack of chemistry. He was getting his buckets, but it was off the ISO ball more so than within the offense. Lately, I'll say Kawhi Leonard has done a great job. Like you're seeing him pass up shots to get his teammates an even better shot.
Yeah.
We saw plays where he was driving in the lane and like diming, like nice dimes to Siakam or nice dimes to Lowry, even missed that wide open 3 late, which could have given the Raptors a lead. But
Yeah.
his ball movement has been so much better and it's fit in with the rest of the team at the same time. And I know it's the Hawks. Again, I know it's the Hawks. The Hawks have no business playing with the Raptors. But if there's one thing you take away from it, it is Lowry's first game back in the lineup with Kawhi. And say whatever you want, the reality is it's going to take time for the team to get back to
mesh.
playing, to mesh
Yeah.
properly. And Danny Green's not in the game. It's Freddie.
Yeah.
So now Freddie and Kyle are the ball handlers. Kawhi's kind of, you know what I mean? He's like the third, maybe even fourth ball handler if you count Siakam.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a while for those guys to mesh together, no?
I mean, who knows of all the teams in the NBA, how many fully healthy man games every team has had. I mean, I don't, with Valanciunas hurt and Kawhi hurt. I'm sorry, Kawhi back-to-back missing, or Kyle hurt. I don't even remember the last time we've had a fully healthy lineup. Right?
Yeah,
So-
it's been a long time. I think
so
they had the
there's
stat too.
yeah, there's adjustments going, but you're right. At least it's a start to see Kyle and Kawhi playing together.
They
right?
gave the stat too. I think it's 14 or 15th different starting lineup the Raptors have had this year, right?
They're still
Because
balling.
again, Danny Green was out,
Yeah.
Freddie getting the start. So with all that, the Raptors find a way to win. They gut out a victory at the end against a bad team, but at the end of the day, you're seeing the difference between superstars and all-stars. And Kawhi Leonard is a superstar, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Further to that point, here's a comment from Instagram that you were alluding to. Would DeRozan do what Leonard did? I don't think so. Not a chance, right? Remember, DeMar was getting benched in the playoffs last year against the Cavs. Like, that was the thing. I don't know. It's just crazy to watch.
So I was telling you, I wanted to ask you a question and just see your take on it. So I saw this quote by Serge today. I guess he must have said it today. And it was, quote, Serge Ibaka said, quote, "No one is safe if Kawhi leaves this offseason," unquote.
He's right.
Take what you want from that. But
no, he's right. He's definitely right. Because the assumption is that if Kawhi leaves, then next year...
Are they going to be rebuilding?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle Serge could be out, could be gone as well, because they'll just clear the deck, roll with the kids that are still under contract, but now you free up all that cap space.
What I wanted to ask, though, does Kawhi take notice to this?
It depends on the bond that he has. Like, if he enjoys playing with Serge and Kyle, then, I mean,
because it's kind of saying,
it's
like,
very interesting. It's very
kind of like we work together, and it's like, well, if you go take that job at X,
at
then we're pretty much gone, right? So
it's interesting, right?
It's an interesting quote, and when it was said too.
It's interesting
having everybody come back.
But it's interesting what you're saying, though. But I find it interesting not from Kawhi's angle, but from Serge's angle, right? Because Serge is looking at this like, if I can make this work, we're building something here that at least has a 2-year run, and maybe I can get another contract here. I really like it in Toronto. I like this team.
What does he have left, Serge?
Next year is him and Kyle are the last year of their deals. Next year.
I was talking to a buddy of mine who quickly just were talking about Kawhi. What I was thinking, and I think might be fit, is because of the window we have with Kyle, Serge, and all that. Essentially, Kawhi's looking for, we'll say, an 8-year max deal, right?
No, it's max. I think he can get 5 is a max.
Is it a 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it was 5, what I was thinking, okay, then let's just say if he signs a 2-year deal here, and he'll still be at a relatively young age, then he can sign the 3-year deal. You know what I mean? So,
like Durant did.
Yeah, so he can say, let me see how it is. He can sign a 1 plus a player option, 2 plus a player option, right? He still has the window with OG and Siakam growing into their form. He still has Kyle on a contract, Serge on a contract, whatever other additions that we made.
Come back for one more year and say...
And I know we're not going to get into this right now because we're going to be talking about a lot of other stuff, but I truly feel with the way things are going, if nothing messes up, I can see him leaning towards that route.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting, and it's
because
something
he's gonna
that
get his money regardless of 2 and the 3, wherever it is, right?
It's interesting because and I guess the narrative is coming from the San Antonio media, and so we don't really know because Kawhi doesn't say anything. But
of course.
What we're given, the info we're given from the Spurs side of things was that he wanted to max deal, but he wants a max deal. Like, that's his focus. He wanted the max deal, but not in San Antonio. And that's why he wanted out. Oh. So, I mean, for him to be so focused on being healthy this season, getting him to the max deal, it'd be interesting for him to then turn around and say, oh, I'm only going to sign 1 year instead of 2 when he's up and available for the max. Yeah. So it's interesting. But, again, who knows how this year plays out? If he enjoys, as you said, if he enjoys playing with Kyle and Serge,
being a leader.
Yeah, he enjoys Toronto, and maybe he could say, hey, give me 1 more year. Give us 1 more year at this. We almost took down Golden State. Yeah. Who knows? Anything's possible. And again, Kawhi doesn't talk, so we literally don't know. We don't know anything about him. Yeah. Right? And we were having the argument today, and it's funny because one of my boys from work just sent me a message on Twitter saying, we're still arguing about Vince in the newsroom. Today at work, we were arguing about Vince all day. Right? And it's so funny, and it's also one of the perks, obviously, of sports talk and debate. But it's funny because the thing that came up was Kawhi. We don't know anything about Kawhi Leonard, right? There's so much talk about Uncle Dennis. Who's Uncle Dennis? Man. Exactly, where's Uncle Dennis? Yeah. I haven't seen Uncle Dennis. I haven't heard anyone mention anything about Uncle Dennis. Yep. It just seemed like such a narrative from the Spurs side of things that we take as gospel because that's all we hear. But
no one really knows.
I don't know anything, right? More comments here. Actually, let me switch to Twitter. Someone says, so this is in regards to the final play as we were talking about OG. Yeah. So this guy says, if OG got fouled, he's not a 33% free throw shooter. He's a better free throw shooter than that. But I guess the point is he's not a good free throw shooter.
Oh, no, I didn't
so
mean
good
for him
chance
to
to
get
still
fouled. I think
lose.
he still could have. He had a pretty open
Yeah,
lane.
he
He would have
could've-
just dribbled out to the side, and it would have been done. Yeah,
I agree with you.
And
I
I mean,
agree with
it's ifs and ands, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. We won. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, you're
we
right.
had to hold our breath with that last possession, and
I-
it could have.
I agree with
been
you.
avoided.
The move is to try to dribble the ball out, and if you do get fouled, hit free throws. Like whatever. That's still the better option than just dunking.
We
the ball.
won, and
Yeah.
let's talk. About
More
Vince Carter.
comment. Kawhi. This from Twitter. Kawhi is the only superstar in the league that can and will win games with defense alone.
Yep.
We saw it. People are forgetting that he is defensive player of the decade. This guy says.
I didn't know they give that award out.
Okay. I missed that award
Yeah,
at
me
the
too.
NBA awards. I missed that one. They must have given that one away on
Yeah.
Instagram
Yeah.
beforehand or something. I don't know. The Hawks came to win this for Vince. I'm not mad. It was a close game.
It was a fun game.
That's a
I'm
good
excited.
point. I didn't even really think of it from that angle, right? Like the young Hawks team, Vince is the vet on that team. Not only are they playing better so far,
Yep.
but maybe there's a little extra juice because they want to win this one for their vet.
Their backcourt played well.
Yeah.
Trey Young and
Lynn was
Jeremy
going
Lin
off
was
too, yeah.
going off. Yeah, reminded me of, like I said, the New Orleans game with Etwan Moore and
Yeah.
the name's forgetting me now. Who's the other guard that wasn't on New Orleans? Etwan Moore.
Oh,
and
Holiday.
Holiday. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This comment says no one cared about this game and we still won. Shows how much confidence this team has in themselves. I mean, that's not something that you want to continue. It's not something you want to
Yeah.
rely on, but it's good to see that it can happen.
I mean, I looked at because how close it was. I looked at the whole Raps season, and I mean, besides a couple of them, the Detroit game that everyone remembers, the Raps pretty much have taken care of
Yeah.
business at home and on the road to mediocre and bad teams.
Yeah, definitely. Someone says no, Kawhi or DeMar can't do what Kawhi does.
No, we know
Yeah.
that.
Another comment, OG with that low IQ dunk though. Agreeing with you for
Yes.
sure. LOL, low IQ dunk. Facts.
I mean, at least he's going to the net, guys. I've been harping on him. I mean, he was 5 of 6 shooting.
Yeah.
Why? Because 3 of those shots are dunks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I want to get your take on this because I kind of felt this too. So this person on Instagram says, so Trey Young was delusional trying to score on Kawhi. That clutch defense was goosebump inducing. I kind of felt watching it like Kawhi kind of suckered him into thinking
that he can have a lane.
Yeah,
open.
yeah. That he had a lane and he could sneak a
Trey's
layup by him.
cocky like that.
Do you know what I mean? Like he kind of
Probably thought he
like
could.
like he got a step on him, and Kawhi kind of like,
Yeah,
you got it.
Why sometimes
outta
the
here.
teams like that are dangerous to play is because when they have really nothing to play for at this moment, where they're not going to make the playoffs, man, they play with risk free, right? And
True.
Like, yeah, Trey's just going to. And I was saying, props to Trey, man, because we all know in his
He didn't get
collegiate
shook and just pass
in his
the ball
collegiate
off.
career though, he was the man in the first half, and we talked about this earlier. In the second half, he kind of looked like his stock was dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And besides Luka, who I haven't seen a rookie like him in quite some time.
He's putting in
Trey's
gangster work.
Trey's been a nice story, right?
sure.
I didn't think he'd be this good, so I mean, props to Trey.
I totally agree. Someone else says 11 steals and just puts up a bunch of fists.
Yeah.
Yes. Respects to Kawhi for that.
I'm surprised you haven't been getting a lot of Vince Carter things on there. I guess everyone's
Yeah, I
over
want to.
it.
You know what people want to say about Vince Carter? We got a lot to say about Vince
We
Carter.
do.
That's coming. Don't
Also,
worry.
I just want to ask one little quick question. I was gonna say
Go ahead,
to
man.
the fans, and listen, I know it's gonna be a little crazy, but it's a fun fact.
Okay.
Living here in Toronto, all the viewers that are from Toronto would know. If you're not, to let you know, we've been getting some fabulous winter weather. Above seasonal.
Yep.
We've had no snow pretty much. Today was a gorgeous day. You seen the joggers out jogging, shorts and t-shirts, or jackets. Anyways, to get to the point was, if you're a real Raptors fan, comment, let us know on the YouTube page, whatever. When you see nice days like this, because
Yeah.
I know I do, and you
Yeah.
said you agreed to
Yeah.
it, you do. In the back of your mind, a little bit in the back of your mind, don't tell me you don't think, wow, man, I wonder if Kawhi's noticing this. I wonder if Kawhi's thinking, you know what? It's not so bad here. Because we all know the narrative has been the weather plays a factor.
The winter's
He didn't
so
like
cold.
this. He didn't like that.
All-Star
But when
weekend was so
All-Star weekend,
cold.
But when he gets out of his house or hotel, whatever it is, and he doesn't have to wear a big parka, maybe he's thinking, you know what? It's not so bad.
Yeah.
Because I know that every time there's a nice day or a cold day, I'm like, oh, man, oh, yes, they're on the road. Okay, they don't know. But whenever it's a nice day, and like today, maybe it could play. No, it's not going to play a factor, but you know what? It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, right?
Maybe he took a nice stroll
Yeah,
in just
exactly,
a hoodie,
you know
hoodie
what I mean?
season as he walked to the game today.
Tell me, don't lie. Tell me you don't, guys, you don't think of that. Because I know I do. I know I think, I wonder if this is helping the cause.
No, but we were joking around about how they should have someone just in the Raptors organization just like sending them text messages like, plus 11 today.
Yeah, well, didn't mean to FaceTime you here. Wrong number. Oh, yeah, this is a t-shirt. Yeah, no, I'm in Toronto.
Hey, anything that could help. Right? So. Anything that could help. Here's a name for you that could be someone on the market. Wayne Ellington.
Yeah.
Someone says Wayne Ellington. That's who I want. I don't know if he's available, but he's a solid shooter.
That's
solid
what
wing guy.
I want, man. I want the Kenneth Reeds. I want
you want a
the
mid-tier
Noah Vonleh. Like they said, even though but the Wayne Ellingtons, maybe the Harrison Barnes, but yeah, I want a low end move because, like you said, a fully healthy Raptors team, like you said, will or can make the finals.
Yeah.
Right. We'd like to add something, but I just don't want to subtract from this team, right? And if you get a Bradley Beal, as nice as it's going to be, then you're not going to have a Siakam, right?
Yeah.
So if Masai can add in a nice power forward, a little bit of grit, a veteran, and then maybe a shooter, I'd be perfect. Without giving up a lot.
For sure.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because the thing is, as we talk about, you got to have an eye out for next year as well.
Yeah, and you don't want to give up.
You don't want to give up
Siakam. I mean,
you're not giving up Siakam, but you don't want to give up OG and Norm.
I know, but I've come to the
DeLon
point though that if we are gonna get a bit better, that I'm okay to give up OG. I don't want to, and I know he probably won't, but I'm okay to do it.
But you know that if he did, it'd be worth it.
Yes, if we get to get an all-star or somewhat, then yeah.
Yeah. Interesting comment here from Instagram. I was about to say YouTube for some reason. Kawhi must have heard you critiquing his ball movement on your last podcast.
Yeah. Nice.
Hey, Kawhi, if you're watching, man, no problem, man. I got you, man. I got you, Kawhi. Someone says he should be getting 4 assists per game. That should be easy for him. Know who to trust in others, or know who to trust in the right position. So that's what we're talking about, though, right? It's with the lineup shuffling so much.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while for him to get used to.
Yeah.
But also, like, there's a play earlier in the game too where I think
he went in the middle and he passed out to Kyle. Is that the
no.
one?
There was one just where he was kind of going to the corner, and whoever had the ball passed it to like the elbow, and it's just one of those things where you got to know the different players, right? Some guys are gonna fade to the 3-point line, other guys are gonna want to drive
be without looking,
and you're not gonna know that yet.
Yeah,
it's only been 40. Well, Kawhi hasn't played 40 games. So I was going to say 43rd game of the season, but Kawhi hasn't even played that many games, right?
You know what, though? I've noticed, and you can't really tell, he doesn't smile that much, but it looks like he's having fun. It looks like he's so happy to be back. You know what I mean? It looks like he's actually enjoying balling.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, they looked like when the ball was moving, there was a couple possessions, even the game-winning possession when Serge dunked it.
Yeah.
The ball movement, the way that it got from one end of the court to the other, leading to the Serge dunk, it was incredible.
I mean, it was a meaningless game since thinking we could blow them out, but it was a telling game. They played great at the last, in the 2 minutes. And I know it was Atlanta, but games like that, whatever opponent it is, when it's down to the crunch time, the last 2 minutes, let's see what setups you guys are going to do, how you're going to play on defense. I mean, it's still an NBA team, right? Like, and the way they played was excellent.
The only other thing too, though, even in these in what we deem as meaningless games, there's always these things that you can take from it. So Danny Green didn't play in this game, but what that meant was OG got crunch time minutes. OG played solid. He had 14 points?
Yeah.
But also he's playing in crunch time. Now, we're talking about the mistake he made at the end of the game. He made another mistake the last time when they played Indiana, when he fouled Bogdanovich at the end of the game, right? Yeah. But you want to get your young bucks chances to play in crunch time and learn and develop, and
when
those
you get
things
the
are
W,
important.
it's a bonus as well.
For sure.
They learn and you get the win.
Someone here on Instagram agrees with your earlier quote that you read about Serge. He says, it's a low-key brilliant thing for Serge to have said.
Yeah.
I think so too, because it's super telling for him and Kyle. They have a lot on the line here.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. It's not too pushy. It's kind of like, we want this thing
to work. Yeah,
right?
We want to make this thing work, because if it doesn't work,
we're not just gonna stay mute and not say anything.
Well,
we're gonna tell you how we feel.
If this doesn't work, if Kawhi leaves and those two guys play well, who knows? Maybe they try to replace Kawhi with someone. Maybe you try to trade Kawhi, sign and trade for like Tobias Harris or something. Like, my point
Yeah.
is maybe you try to keep Kyle and Serge next year. If it doesn't work and those guys play poorly and Kawhi leaves, then definitely you could trade Serge and Kyle to anyone that will just accept the salary dump, that wants a clear cap room. So Serge doesn't want to end up playing on, like, I don't know, the Brooklyn Nets next year, right?
No.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, Kawhi holds all the cards in more ways than one.
This person says that last possession of the Hawks, I was already prepared for Vince to drill a fadeaway three-point shot. Then I saw Kawhi.
I thought when Trey took it, I thought Carter was getting it too. You didn't even think it was going to be. You thought he wasn't coming out, and then you're like, "Oh, he's coming out."
Well, here's the thing: they showed the shot of the bench, and during the
standing.
timeout, Vince was standing.
Yeah.
And normally during timeouts like that, the starters or whoever's going to be in the game are sitting on the bench while the coach draws up the play.
I think he just did that because he's trying to be more of a player coach.
I think he's just old.
Yeah.
And so, like, once he sits down, it's a lot of work to get back up and check back in the game, right?
True.
But it was pretty funny.
Speaking of Vince,
Yes.
you mentioned you watched the Carter Effect.
I did, yes.
How did you like it?
So, yes, I mentioned this on Instagram and on Facebook, I think it was. So I will read the comments for sure. But with so much hype yesterday, we were all talking about, oh, is this Vince's last game? Is this Vince's last game in Toronto? And it started up the talk, once again, of how Vince Carter should be remembered in Toronto. Retiring his jersey, statue, whatever, all that fun stuff. And I've always been of the opinion, in terms of from a Raptors fan perspective, I've always been of the opinion that I was always mad at Vince because he quit on the team. And he told us that he quit on the team. That was the thing that was most frustrating to me. I was never going to forget that. But at the same time, I kind of understood what he meant to the organization. But I wanted to watch the Carter Effect, and I know I'm way late on it. It came out like last year. Actually, shout out to Sean Menard, who's someone we used to work with at The Score, who directed that doc. But I watched the Carter Effect because it just felt timely, and, you know, it was honestly a really good reminder of the height of Vince Carter.
Yes.
Right? And so even for
done.
me, who some of my boys might call me a Vince hater, there's nothing but respect for the heights of where Vince Carter got. Like, I will always remember watching that dunk contest. There was like 20 of us gathered in my boy's house.
Me too. I won't forget that too. The same.
There's like 20 of us gathered in my boy's living room
And the
watching it,
first
going crazy.
dunk he did.
Lost their shit.
Because you got to remember, there might be some viewers here that might be in their late teens, early 20s. It would have been hard for you to remember.
Yeah, you've watched it on YouTube.
Okay.
We're talking about watching it live.
I watched
it
live. And so the narrative coming in was Vince Carter is the best dunker, better than MJ. MJ back then with Dominique was the showstopper at the dunk competition.
Yep.
Vince Carter comes in, and it was so brilliant. And this is what a lot of people didn't take. If you noticed before, every dunk, he quiet and confidently walked up to the net, looked at the mesh, grabbed it, and then walked back.
Yeah.
He did the arm and everything.
Yeah.
And he comes with that first dunk, and the perfection on the one. Carter was the best dunker, but the thing that Carter did was his form was next to none.
It was so smooth. The 360
that
windmill
he did with that, and Shaq's face, and Kid's face, and Weber, and it was just, you jumped out of your seat. It was, and for us and for everybody, I guess in Canada, but everybody for Toronto, that was your moment. And it just,
the other thing is, like, few things actually live up to expectations, right?
Yes.
And there's so much hype going
into that,
and it surpassed the hype.
Yeah.
That was the craziest part about it, right? Like, we were so hyped, waiting for it, anticipating it. There was talk, like, as you said, is he the best dunker ever?
Will it not?
Yeah, like, and you didn't think, like, oh, I can't possibly live up to the hype. And then first dunk was just crazy.
No props either, guys. None of these cards or anything like that.
No props.
That was one of the last, maybe with, like, there's Jason Richardson or Nate Robinson had a couple, but that was one of the last real dunk competitions.
No props, no gimmicks.
No props, no nothing. You had the Tracy McGrady bounce pass. That was
disgusting.
That was it.
The other thing, too, was Vince said, and this is only fresh in my mind.
He made them all up, right?
Yeah, I just watched the Carter Effect, so this is in my head. But he said during warm-up, some people did the dunks that he was planning on doing. So he was like, okay, scrap that. I'll just come up with something else.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? Right? Yeah. But, so again, we say this to say, like, I understand the height of what Vince Carter went, like where he got the franchise, where he got the organization, how like he made people, mainstream people, care about basketball in Canada.
That's a key word that you said, Mason. Because this is my take on what Carter means. It's more than just the player to the Raptors. Okay, what Carter means is mainstream. Toronto finally getting noticed. Okay, so you could take it in this way. If you're from Toronto and you're from Toronto all your life, you know that this is one of the greatest cities in the world. You love it. But we always get looked at from our neighbors in the south of, oh, no.
Yeah.
So if you could take this and think of Toronto as a golden egg, a golden egg,
Okay.
but it's covered in a shell.
Okay.
You have a couple things, mainstream-wise, okay,
Yeah.
that maybe did a couple little cracks
I got
in
you.
this eggshell.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't really see it. And we want everyone to see it. What Vince Carter did was he punched that first hole in that shell.
I would even
And
argue he
because-
smashed the shit out of
And
it.
because because there's more shell to come off.
Okay.
Drake's one of them. Drake.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
The way, and
I
now
see what you're
it's to the
saying.
point where everybody loved what Vince Carter was doing because in those times it was White Chocolate, Jason Williams. Like Vince Carter, greatest dunk, half man, half amazing, and he was in Toronto. So what he did for Toronto, besides all the other stuff, bringing all the camps here and the NBA All Stars, he punched a hole in that shell, and you saw a little bit of the gold of what the city can be because a lot more people were coming down here for
Yeah.
Carabana and whatnot, and it made us get that attention, even though we didn't need it. But it was like, yes, this is what Toronto's really about, and it's been coming more with the weight. And I'll tell you now, being a homer, Toronto's the hottest city out, right?
Well-
with everything that's going on, right?
Yeah,
With-
yeah.
and mainstream style,
I know what you're saying.
right? And now it's just with Kawhi here, he's just peeling off the little bit of shell that's left, and he's probably starting to see of how good this golden egg is because Toronto is one of the best cities in the world, and now we as a city are confident and embrace our city.
Yeah.
And at that time, we pay homage to that because he, like I said, he broke it open for us. He made it more on, especially in the basketball scene, like, you know what I mean, in the American scene, more adaptable for everybody to see.
Well,
What it
there's
is.
so
And
many-
That's why it means so much.
There's so many things that like seem like not a big deal, but when you're kids, when you're young and
Yes.
you're growing up, and like culture or pop culture things that matter so much more when you're younger, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So like the first rap video, when you started seeing people wearing
Hip-hop
Raptors
and Carter
jerseys
jerseys
in
and-
rap videos,
Right?
that was incredible.
Yeah.
That was the thing where it was like, whoa, that's
Oh,
us.
Toronto. That's that purple Toronto.
Yeah.
jersey,
Like that's us. Like that was really cool, and I understand all that. My thing with Vince Carter will always be how he went
He
out,
left, yeah.
right? And the thing is, he quit. He told us he quit.
Of course.
He went from scoring 16 points per game the first 20 games he played for the Raptors that season, got traded, and then averaged 27 points a game with the Nets.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he
he went off
blatantly
the
quit
Nets. Yeah.
and left the team.
But
That's
then-
always going to be my beef.
I furthered your point too. Every great fairy tale like that always has one of those endings. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to hate the Jackson 5 because Michael Jackson left, right? I mean, like I said, like guys, every fairy tale always has that kind of
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
bad ending. And you know what? That was Vince Carter's weird bad ending.
Yeah.
Now, it's taken a while to get back to the point that we're at now, and it's not still fully nailed, like
Yeah.
shaking the hand, but it's getting there. But it's still, to me, I know how he left, and we always knew that side of him,
Yeah.
the baby side. But it'll still never take away how I felt as a teenager watching those games and watching that Game 7 against Philly and that shot and the dunk and that team with Oakley and Christie and those were great Raptors.
I
And
think-
that's the memories we all have.
For sure. My thing always, I think, is we don't allow, and it's tough to do in this era, right? Where everything is so like opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like we forget sometimes that two things are allowed to exist in the same world, right? And what I mean by that is Vince Carter could have done so much good for the team.
Yeah.
But he also did so much bad.
Bad.
And both of those things are allowed to come up in the conversation
Of course.
and be true. I just feel like what ends up happening now is it's all just the good, and we forget the things like, oh, I'm not going to dunk anymore. We forget the
Yeah.
things like him saying, yeah, I could have tried a lot harder.
Yeah.
right? Like we forget those things, and those things are major, right?
Yeah.
Like Vince Carter averaging 16 points per game. It's like, come on, dude. Like what's really happening here?
Yeah.
Vince Carter dancing on stage during a Nelly concert while he's injured and the Raptors are struggling to play and make the playoffs.
Yeah,
Like,
going to his graduation.
going to the graduation,
Yeah.
those things are really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
And so my thing is to bring up all of that, because not only does it make the true story, but it is a better narrative, right? It's a better story arc. And to me, when you bring up the negative, it makes this stuff even better in a sense, right? It's a better story
Yep.
that like you went through all of this stuff, and then now he can come into a game like tonight where he got cheered.
Oh,
Like-
when you said when it was a close down by
It's a close
we're down by
game.
one, he has the ball.
Yeah.
We were cheering him.
And-
yeah,
Vince
It's a
Carter was
far
getting
cry from his first game back, right?
Right?
Or-
And I remember all those,
So do
like
I.
those daggers of Vince scoring
Yeah.
and him at half court and Jason Kidd jumping on his shoulder and he's all hype.
Yeah.
The dunk when he hit the dunk to win
Yeah.
the game at the buzzer, like all of those moments like stabbed Raptors fans to the core,
Yeah.
right? And that just makes the story so much better, I think, when it finally wraps up and it's like, oh, Raptors fans are giving Vince Carter a standing ovation when he checked into the game. And the people that weren't clapping, it's because they were filming it on their phone.
Yeah, it's been a crazy relationship with Vince and Lamar Carter.
It's a great way
That's
to put it.
for sure.
Yeah, such a crazy storyline. And trust me, I get why his jersey will be retired. I even will agree as that his jersey should be retired. Like, I understand it. I'm not saying that I would do it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
Because when you hear all these kids that are in the NBA, they're telling you
It is.
that it was because of Vince Carter.
I was dribbling in my basement, making my mom record all the Raptors games in 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want anybody to tell me what the score was because I wanted to go home and watch it. And
Yeah.
the number, and I remember being oohed and awed. I remember one of the games he played against the Clippers.
Yeah.
And when he did that alley-oop dunk that was so
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
from
yeah,
D.
yeah,
Brown or whatever. And then he hit that game-winning shot, and the whole Clippers arena was going crazy. It's just the nostalgia, like just everything
For sure.
around Vince Carter at that time was amazing for basketball. But he just played for our
Yeah.
team.
I mean, the biggest thing too, like obviously when you hear Nick Stauskas tell stories of being
Yeah.
at an open practice, or you hear Tristan and Corey say Vince Carter is the reason why I'm in the NBA, that's cool.
Yeah.
But then when you hear Kevin Durant say that
He
the
was the
Raptors were
Raptors'
his favorite
favorite
team
team.
growing up, it's like, okay, I get it and I understand it. I just want us to also remember the
What he
bad
did,
stuff
yeah.
as well. And that's cool. Like, it's okay to remember
Yep.
both sides of it. My beef is when that stuff gets pushed aside and it's like, oh, get over it. And it's like, no, you don't have to get over it.
Would you take it
can
all away,
acknowledge
though,
it.
right now, if you could? Would you just wipe it away and Vince Carter stayed in Golden State and we had Antoine Jameson? Or would you go
No,
through
of course-
everything
of course
that
you
we
do it all
went
over
through?
again. Of course you do it all over
So
again.
that is the question for everyone.
Because the
I guess,
height, the height of it was
amazing.
incredible.
Yes, exactly.
Like, we
And
felt
that's what
so
we gotta look
hyped
out of it.
when that first game, when they were playing on NBC.
Yep.
Like, our childhood is just watching the Bulls every single Saturday play the Knicks,
Yeah.
or at least that's what it seemed. It was Bulls versus Knicks or Bulls versus Lakers, Bulls versus Pistons. That's basically what it was every Saturday on NBC.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden now, when we're old enough to take it in, and it's the freaking Vince Carter and the Raptors
Yeah.
on NBC, is like, whoa, we made
Carter
it.
scores 50 and
Yeah, he came out and dropped 50.
40
like,
or
we were
50 or
right
47
there.
or
We
49,
get it.
but
We
yeah.
understand it. He needs to be. Oh, I want to get some comments.
Yeah, we
here.
got
Someone-
a bunch of comedy. We
someone
went on
writes
a
in and
ramble here, but
says-
we had to because it was the Vince's.
Someone writes in and
last
said,
show.
Vince is a bum. Another comment says, the impact for kids alone in Canada watching Vince deserves his jersey being retired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You will, guys.
I don't disagree with that. I definitely think his jersey will be retired. I'm going to try to find some of the comments earlier, because I did ask people earlier on in the day to send in comments. One person on Facebook says, Vince Carter is a quitter. Another comment says, I think his lasting energy is how fired up he makes you every time you talk about him. This is true. I
Yeah.
am fired up about Vince. Another comment. No self-respecting franchise would honor/retire the number of a dude who quit his way off the team, forced to trade, and left the team in ruins afterwards. The last part wasn't necessarily his fault, but it was a result of him wanting out. Celtics, Lakers, never. It's one of those things where, you know, it's become such a polarizing thing. And I think that's when you realize that's why it's important to talk about both sides of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no right or wrong. It's just polarizing opinions on both sides, right? Which tells you that is a good conversation. That is a good, debate.
The trade that Rob Babcock made from 2 stings as well, right? I mean, had we got a pretty solid return, maybe it might not have hurt, but when you get Alonzo Mourning and Trent Spill, guys that
stings more,
don't even want to come here.
It was Alonzo Mourning and the 2 Williams, Williams kids, right? Aaron and Eric Williams.
That even rubbed even more salt in the wound too.
That makes it way worse. Yeah,
right. It's kind of like, you had Vince, you let go. This is the dunk I was talking about right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, boom. That's crazy.
The Clippers one. Anyways, I mean, that Babcock did a horrible trade there, so that hurts. I mean, I know it was like that, but like I said, if you just think it's all how you react to it. Think about it. Think of it as a crazy relationship, a whirlwind of a relationship. Then the good and the bad.
I love hearing both sides of it. And even if I disagree, like this comment's pretty long, but it's a good comment here. This person on Instagram says, he made me fall in love with basketball at an early age in Toronto. I do agree. I felt like he quit on the team. I remember going to Raps versus Nets just to boo him, but eventually I forgave him and realized it was the franchise's fault also. He was young, and now I feel like he's forgiven. I wanted to sign him to bring him on some veteran leadership last year. In the end, I feel like regardless of what happens, he did help Toronto. He did help put Toronto on the map and give all the kids motivation to play basketball in Canada. Now we have so many Canadians in BC for that.
I agree.
Yeah,
well said.
It's true, right? It is a very complex, but again, like the dunk contest is something I will never forget. That's incredible. Also, that first game, I would have been working at the Score by then. And I remember covering his first game back in Toronto. And that building was the loudest shit I've ever heard. Yeah. It was so crazy how loud it was in that building. So it's just a great story. And I think because, when people bring up the Celtics and Lakers and other like big time franchises, I get why you wouldn't retire Vince Carter for that. Because those, like, you have rings to celebrate. You have other things to celebrate.
We don't
the Raptors don't have that yet in 20 years.
Yeah.
Or 20 plus years, right? So
you put up Doug Christie's uniform, or
right?
You know what I mean?
So I understand it. I might not agree with it, but I understand it. Someone says he should never be brought back. Do you want to see Vince Carter get if he got brought back on like a veterans minimum to just ride the bench this year?
No, I mean I was on as the guy who just said that great telling of Vince Carter. He said about the thing last year. I was on that last year as well. Last year would have been okay. This year with Kawhi and all that, I think it might cause a little bit too much stir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think the Raptors need that right now. You got enough veteran leadership here that it just might be a circus, right? So,
yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I don't think they will.
Speaking of Kawhi, someone says, weather is perfect to keep Kawhi.
Yep.
I said it before you said it, bro. That is pretty funny,
I'm telling you, man. Like, everybody's thinking. Raptor fans are thinking that.
We should start a hashtag or something.
Can we do a hashtag all the nice weather days and just send it to Lamar? I'm sorry,
to Kawhi.
Send it to Kawhi. I got Vince Carter.
It's like today's weather is great.
Yeah.
That's funny. There's so many comments in here. Thanks for everyone for sending all the comments because truly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to all of them, or at least most of them. Let's see another comment here. We got lucky they didn't call offensive foul on Kalo at that half-court pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
John Collins knocked him out there. That was like
shout out to Kyle, low-key, always doing those dirty picks.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember? So that game last year where DeRozan. Remember he went end-to-end on that dunk in Detroit?
Detroit, yeah.
Kyle set like the dirtiest pick and grabbed the jersey and took out 2 guys on that play.
He's a good hockey player, bro. Put some skates on him, I'm telling you.
It's true. It's so true. If Kyle was like a nice guy to the media, he might be the most beloved Raptor ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because of the way that he plays?
The way he plays, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Someone else is saying, I think... People are here saying that OG is very tradable, and I think he's being showcased. I don't know about that.
Very tradable.
I think Masai still loves off OG, but anyways. Let's see. Oh, going back to the dunk contest, this person says, Raptors don't use props. Ask DeRozan and T. Ross in the dunk contest.
Oh, yeah.
Both of them had pretty solid showings in the dunk contest as well.
Jamario Moon.
Someone's asking if the show's dedicated to Vince. No, but it was an important thing to talk about. No one ever mentions Damon Stoudemire.
Mighty Mouse.
Fair enough. Not mad at Damon Stoudemire. Yeah, I don't know. I just think there's so many comments there. I totally appreciate you guys writing in. Obviously, Vince Carter is a polarizing figure in Raptorland. He will always be something like that in Raptorland. And plus the impact of like his shocks, for example, like he made people buy Nike shocks, making them think that they could jump higher, right? Which was so ridiculous. But those shoes are super popular. It was just a huge thing, and it always will be, right? You can tell he regrets some of those choices, and now he knows wisdom isn't easy, but VC has it now.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of
make
people.
Mistakes, and when you're young, you're immature. There's so much stuff I did when I was younger that I look back now, I'm like, what was I thinking? And I mean, yeah,
It's true,
right.
It's
And
very
you're
true.
a star, and you got the city and the country and the palm of your hand, and you just, I think he's an only child, and it showed, right?
What do you think about this? Cheering Vince Carter was so disrespectful to Kawhi and the Raptors.
No, I don't think it has anything
I
to
found
do
it weird. I did find it weird that they
think
were,
if anything,
Vince
that
Carter was
shows-
scoring. Vince Carter was scoring in the game, and Raptors fans were cheering.
I know, it was
and it was a
weird.
close game, and I was like, "Wait, what's happening right now?"
But it showed, just coming off of that San Antonio game, how much they were booing Kawhi because it was so new. You know what I mean? It kind of shows, I guess, the loyalty, whatever air quotations you want to say, that if you make an impact on us in our city, just like we showed Danny Green, that we will love you forever, no matter what you do, right or wrong, right? So I don't think that had really anything as a disrespect to Kawhi. But I mean, take it as you want.
Yeah, I mean, other comments here on Twitter. Glad the fans gave VC standing ovation.
Yeah.
It's so I love it
The
because
emotional
it's,
one was the one he cried though.
because that was the first time he got
was
cheered.
it.
That was the
a
first
good
time he
one.
really got
Yes,
cheered
yeah.
back in Toronto.
Yeah.
All the other times it was either like a scattering of boos
Yeah.
or whatever. And the other thing from the Carter effect, his mom said he won't admit it, but he was really, really, really hurt by being booed when he came back to Toronto. Like that really hurt his feelings. So, I mean, it's cool that it could go all the way full circle and, be
No
positive,
matter,
whatever.
He's in his 20th season. I think only Robert Parrish and Kevin Garnett and Dirk right now have 20 plus
Kobe?
seasons. Or Kobe too.
Did
yeah.
Kobe get there?
But it's crazy for someone who's played top 5, top 10 most games in the NBA. His whole life still always circles around being a Raptor.
Yeah, because that
You know
was
what
his
I mean?
peak.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Like his
just
best
even-
years were with the
exactly,
Raptors.
and everything. So I mean, guys, he thinks about this too, man.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just us that is like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is what he thinks about.
I
Right?
always find it weird though that we had the All-Star game in Toronto and Vince was not around. Like there was nothing for Vince. There was no like,
Was that time? I don't.
let's
yeah,
remember his dunk contest
Yeah.
or like he just wasn't
I-
even
I-
there
yeah,
at
I
all.
thought Vince-
He
I
wasn't even
remember
a judge.
making a hot take, thinking Vince Carter might actually be in that dunk competition at that time.
That would have been
And
funny.
ironically enough, besides the Vince Carter dunk competition, and that was one
Toronto,
of the
yeah.
best ones.
That one is definitely one of the best
That
dunk
one
contests
is
ever too.
puts it up there
For sure. Definitely true. But yeah, let's, shouts to all the comments. Thanks to everyone for writing in
Yep.
about Vince Carter. Keep the conversation going. And again, for people that might not know, the comments in the YouTube page is always lit. So
Yep.
if you want to continue to talk about Vince Carter
and the weather.
and the weather, shouts to the weather and Kawhi, head there, keep this conversation going because that's what we want to do, right? We want to ask you guys what you think because again, I'm against Vince. I'll never forget that John Thompson interview, but I like hearing other people's opinions to be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's what this is. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just hearing different people's opinions, and I'm always here for that. But as we get back to the game, and a game that, Vince Carter, it would have been funny if he did hit that 3 to tie it super
Oh
late.
my God,
That would have been just too funny. But that would have happened to the old Raptors
Yeah. Not
and the
new
younger
Raptors.
Vince
Yeah.
Carter, right?
Yeah.
Because we saw that enough when he was on the Nets. The devastating shots hit at the buzzer by Vince. Didn't work out this way because this is a different Raptors team.
It is.
This is Kawhi Leonard's Raptors,
This is the
right? As
NBA's
mentioned,
best Raptors.
31-12, the Raptors improved to after 104-101 victory. Again, Kawhi Leonard doing work, 31 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 steals on 11 of 18 shooting. He hit 3 threes in this game. Kawhi Leonard is just a problem, and I know that he's not going to get into that MVP race, but he really, really should be for what he does on the defensive end. He's averaging career highs in points and rebounds, and his defense is just
Stellar.
nasty. So I don't know. I'll be cheering on the Kawhi MVP parade, because especially once he's done doing sitting on the second night of back-to-backs, and if the Raptors continue to play well, which, I mean, with Kyle in the lineup,
slowing down, yeah.
Hey, more power to that. But again, thanks for joining us on this Wrap It Up podcast. It turned out to be a way better game and a more exciting podcast because the game was great.
Because we had something to talk about the game.
So much to talk about. Mikey, thanks as always for joining us, Mr. Bellamo. But if the people want to hit you up, where can they find you on the social medias?
Hit me up on the YouTube.
Yep.
Message. Anything you like, anything you didn't. Tell me about the weather. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, MikeBello_6.
And you know what? It's true. Mike comes in and we'll talk about like what was going on in the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
You tell me all the time stuff like, this person said
man.
this person said that. Like we watch it, we read it, like we really appreciate it. And I want to stress that. It's not hyperbole at all. Salute to you guys, because you guys are what makes this thing go in terms of keeping it going. Like half of this whole thing is about what you guys thought about the game, what you guys thought about Vince Carter. We're just the platform to make that happen. So continue sending in all that. And as always, I'm Sheldon Alexander. You can find me on Twitter, same place you find this podcast, live after each and every Raptor game at Shell Alexander. We also take your comments and questions on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And of course, tune into the podcast the next day if you missed it live on SoundCloud, on iTunes, Play, and of course on YouTube. Like, subscribe, rate, all that fun stuff.
Hit that like button.
Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Spread the word. Tell your friends, as Chappelle. Yeah. Thanks again for tuning in. And as always, I really did used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps post-game show. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
On blast.